Okay, folks, we just had playtime with Shakespeare, and we also just did a little trailer exercise with him, but now he's calming down a little bit, so we're going to have story time. I know y'all love story time. He's going to get groomed, and I am going to tell some stories about him. Okay, so just to give you some backstory on him, for those who may not know, and I'll be quick about this part of it. Basically, I was going through a tough time in my life. My mom had just died. My mom passed in 2011, and I found Shakespeare. Well, she passed in September of 2011. I found Shakespeare in May of 2014. So I was not looking for a horse at the time. I had had a horse when I was younger, but I was not in the market for a horse. But anyway, I was on Craigslist for something else. I saw his picture, and I knew that I had to have this horse. I can't explain why. I just knew it. It was something kind of like in my soul. I've had that a couple of times with animals throughout my life, and I saw him and I knew that I had to go get him. Okay, so I arrived and he was running around. There was this, it was way up on a mountain ridge, and out in a town called Burnsville, which is near Asheville, and he was running around like a literally just wild as wild could be. Okay, he was not tame. He was not well-mannered. He was actually kind of crazy. He was running and screaming and squealing and rearing up and acting like a lunatic when I first met him, but I realized that he had actually experienced quite a trauma. He had been gelded, which means he had his testicles removed, without any sedation or any vet or any painkiller or anything like that. He was tied in a set of stocks. Let me show you what stocks look like, if this thing will follow. Get this camera to follow. So that over my shoulder there, that's a set of stocks. We do not use those to geld horses, but that is what a set of stocks looks like. And he was basically tied in one of those, and then they castrated him. So he definitely had some trauma. He hated people, didn't trust anybody. And when I got there, the girl who I got him from, I asked her, I said, well, why are you getting rid of this horse? And she said, oh, well, I'm a barrel racer, and he's not fast enough. And I said, well, okay. And I didn't care about that because, you know, I wasn't trying to race him or anything. And I just said, all right, well, that's fine. So anyway, he was defiant. He was wild. He was angry. Just honestly, I thought that he was probably more horse than I could even handle. I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to do with him, but I knew I needed to get him out of there, and I figured I'd figure it out along the way. You know, great plan, right? So basically, got him, and I took him to. He was at a different farm than he is right now, but I had only had him for about 3 days, and I went ahead and some of you are gonna think this is wacky and silly and maybe stupid. I don't really care. I hired an animal communicator, a pet psychic, because I had never done it before, and I just wanted to see what would happen. Well, anyway, she comes out, and she knew nothing about Shakespeare at all. Nothing. I mean, she didn't know his history. She didn't know his story. She didn't know anything. So that day, when I got to the barn owner came out to me, and we had a round pen, and the round pen was fenced in by wood panel fencing along the top. It was in an octagonal shape, and there were big wooden slats, going around the top of it. So I got there, and this was before the animal communicator arrived, and the owner brings her little, buggy out, and she drives down to me, and she says, what happened to the round pen? And I was the last one in the round pen the day before with him. But nothing happened in the round pen. I mean, he didn't do anything. He just kind of walked around. It was nothing, there was no, so I said to her, I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean, what happened in the round pen? And she's like, well, you weren't in the round pen today? And I said, no, I wasn't in the round pen. That was yesterday. So anyway, she left. And then the animal communicator arrives, and I had her do a session with Shakespeare, and I said, well, the only thing I really want to know is he happy here? And I had changed his name. His previous name had been Midnight, okay? And she, you know, I changed his name to Shakespeare because I didn't want him to have anything attached to his former life, right? So I gave him a new name that he had only had for 3 days, and we were in a new environment for him. So, but yet she didn't know I didn't tell the pet psychic any of this, right? I just told her, I just said, tell me how he's feeling and tell me what he's got to say. And is he afraid of anything? And is there anything I can do to make his life here more comfortable? So she kind of connects with him, right? And that's true. You hear in the background screaming. Anyway, so she does her thing. She connects with him. And she says, well, you know, did it storm here? Did you have a storm here? And I said, no, I don't think so. And this was the farm was about 25 minutes from my house. And I said, it didn't, not to my knowledge, we didn't have a storm. I don't know. So anyway, she says, well, he's showing me this bolt of lightning. And he said that it really scared him. And it scared all the horses, and he didn't like that. He did not like that bolt of lightning. And she said, I can see a thunderbolt very clearly. And I was like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And so, anyway, long story short, she kept moving on. And then next thing she told me was that he was very happy with his new name because it was a name that was worthy of him. And he liked having that name. So I was happy that he liked his new name. And again, I didn't tell her any of this. She didn't know that I had renamed him. She didn't know anything. Well, the barn owner ends up coming back out, and I started kind of like telling her about what had happened, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that would explain what happened in the round pen." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And so we walked over to the round pen, and the top panel of the round pen was on the ground, and she thought, I guess, that he had kicked it. Well, then she went around to all of the electric fencing on the property and found out that all the electric fencing on the whole entire horse farm was out. And what had happened is it had been struck by lightning. She said that there was a huge bolt of lightning last night, and there was an explosion. And then she put 2 and 2 together that it not only it hit the round pen and knocked the fencing down in the round pen because it was like the board was knocked off and literally had burn marks in it. And then also all the electric fencing was out. So I know. He's getting mad at me because he wants to go back out. But anyway, I just thought that was a really, really, really fascinating story. And it goes to show you that these guys understand a whole lot more than we think that they understand. Another time I had that same animal communicator out here, and this was several months later, and I had bought Shakespeare a brand new saddle, okay? And it wasn't new, it was used, but it was new to him. And what was unique about this saddle was it was autographed by one of the most famous, natural horsemen in today's society, Chris Cox. So he's a phenomenal horseman. It's a handmade saddle, and Chris Cox had autographed it. Okay, I mean he literally took a Sharpie and he autographed the saddle. I know you're itchy, buddy. So what was really cool about that story was, again, this animal communicator did not know that anything about the saddle. So she came to do another session with him, and she checked in with him, and he said, he told her that he was extremely proud of his new saddle because it had a brand on it that wasn't like anybody else. He was calling it a brand. And that was the way she interpreted it, because she asked me, she's like, does it have like a brand on it? And I don't even know why I didn't think of it. And I said, no, there's no brand on it. And then she's like, no, he keeps insisting that there is something special, a special brand on that saddle. And then I was like, oh my God, yes, of course, Chris Cox autographed the saddle. And she said, well, he's very, very proud of the saddle, and he said that he finally has a saddle that's worthy of him. Okay. And I forgot one of the other things that she told me the very first time that she did a reading on him. Remember that I told you that when I went to get him, the girl said that the reason she was getting rid of him was because he wasn't fast enough for barrel racing. Well, one of the first things he told her was he kept telling her or implying to her that he was fast. He was the fastest one. And she said he kept showing her racing like a racehorse and kept saying to her, I am fast enough. I am fast enough. And she didn't even have any context for this because I didn't tell her what had been said, right? So she didn't know that woman said he's not fast enough to barrel race, and he was telling the animal. She told me she's like, he keeps insisting that he is the fastest one and he is fast enough. And so he was very, very upset about that. He was very upset about the fact that he was being told he wasn't fast enough, when in fact he was. And to prove that, this guy got to this farm and he literally was the fastest horse on this farm. Nobody could catch this horse. As a matter of fact, the barn owner, he's had horses for 40 years. And he's like, I'll tell you something, that horse has got wings. He said, I've never seen a horse that can move that fast. Sorry, these gnats are terrible. He's like, that guy can fly when he wants to. So, he's very, very proud of the fact that he can run extremely fast. And man, he can when he wants to. Let me tell you, I haven't been on his back and had him do that. But super, super intelligent. And I'm telling you all these stories. Now, believe them or don't believe them. I mean, you might think this is woo-woo. You might think it's crazy. But I am telling you beyond a shadow of a doubt, I did not tell that pet psychic anything about this horse. And she constantly came up with evidential information that I knew, but there was no way that she could have known. But what is more fascinating, I mean, that's fascinating within its own right, but what's more fascinating to me is the fact that he tracked all of that and was able to communicate it. So when you think that these animals are not intelligent enough to have critical thinking or process, fear and emotion and thought, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you like it is. It's totally incorrect. They are equally as intelligent, I think, in their own way as any human being. So, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed those stories. I have many more where those came from, but we are at 12 minutes now. So I am going to end this for today. But if you like the stories, like, comment, share, repost, bookmark, do all the good things, because it really helps us. It helps other people to learn more about horses and find the channel and all that good stuff. So thanks so much, and I am going to take my boy now, and we're going to go back out to the pasture so he can join his friends and go down to the creek, maybe get a drink, and we'll catch up with y'all later.